I had the opportunity to participate in the global closed beta test for Ash Echoes, a brand new strategy gacha, and admittedly what I experienced I didn't expect at all. On the contrary, while I had been eagerly anticipating the game ever since its initial announcement, I didn't think it would offer not only the challenge, but also the style of gameplay that it does. Hey, my name is Stix and welcome back to the worst gacha ever, a video series where I discuss a gacha and tell you guys what I thought in explicit detail as we attempt to find the worst gacha ever. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing to the channel, hitting that little bell notification, that way you remain up to date with every single thing that I post, and I post several times per month. Do not miss out. Now let's go ahead and strategize, because, well, you're gonna need to. You begin with this beautiful intro cinematic showing you what I believe to be the world in a state of chaos. Like every gacha game in the history of the genre, you regain consciousness, you look in the puddle beside you and have to contemplate whether what you see is a cute female or a generic male. When I look in the mirror, when I look at my reflection, I often find myself wondering the exact same thing. Thus, I opted for the gender that I am IRL and named myself appropriately. Apparently, I'm the director, the chief officer of SEED, the very same military organization from Final Fantasy VIII. Now to find out where Quistis is hiding. After listening to more of the story, attempting to understand what's going on, we're contacted by Young Lady on Call, very appropriately named. She immediately recognizes me and has a little pouty face because apparently I am really bad at following directions. I began hearing voices, which is never a good sign, especially after waking up from being unconscious. I probably hit my head too hard in the ground when whatever almost killed me, well, almost killed me. Together, we form a group, and Xiao, the blonde lady, and I make our way through a destroyed city armed with, apparently, a rolled up piece of newspaper. Are we serious? That's what we're going with? You're gonna fend off a swarm of alien creatures with an old newspaper. Maybe I'm a jerk for thinking this, but I'd honestly love to see her attempt this. Oh, wait, you know what? There we go. She really is, and it is powerful enough that it one-shots every single alien in her path. My God, I think if we just equip our military with old used newspapers, we should be good. We're introduced to a unique style of gameplay or game mode that is further expanded upon later as we continue through the story. As we run in a relatively linear line forward, we're treated to quite the grand spectacle going on in the background. Enormous battles going on in the distance, which really makes you appreciate just how far we've come in this genre. When a mere few years ago we had games that were all but visual novels, while progressing through towards the end of the mission, we see some noticeable frame drops, which was cause for alarm. This game does suffer from occasional frame drops, more often in cutscenes, character ultimate abilities, or when there's just too much visual clutter. Otherwise, it is about as smooth as my ass after I get home from my monthly waxing. After a lot of cutscenes, a few battles to introduce me to the systems, and some insane ultimate showcases, some old guy smiles at me as he drugs my glass of water. I then go on this crazy acid trip. I see all of the incredible characters that I'm never going to be able to obtain, including Gion from Wuthering Waves, and that I fall from the sky, and then I wake up in a taxi with Xiao angrily pointing at me. She reminds me of my wife. While we were taught the basics in the first 30 minutes of the game, and I appreciate a good tutorial as much as the next guy, they want to reteach us the basics again, and thus we're thrown into another half hour of tutorials, cutscenes, and exposition. Ash Echoes is a real-time tactical RPG. You field a number of units, all of which fit into one of several different class archetypes: Bulwark, Vanguard, Striker, Skirmisher, Ranger, Support, and Tactician. In addition to a class, heroes will also have their own elemental affinity: physical, water, lightning, fire, ice, wind, and corrosion. I'm not sure how physical is an element in this scenario, but I'm not going to question it. Elements are more than just a rock, paper, scissors advantage. Much like Genshin Impact, they provide you interesting elemental reactions and interactions when utilizing certain abilities, like lightning abilities inside a fire spell. Since combat is real time, not only can you reactively move your heroes around the battlefield, but enemies move periodically, requiring you keep track of where each and every enemy and ally is placed. Since each hero fits into a class archetype, they fill different roles, and as such, have different advantages to incorporating them into your team composition. Managing exactly who and what you need based on each individual encounter is paramount to your success. Abilities tend to fall into one of two different types, AoE or single target. These abilities can be manually aimed, placed around enemies in a cone, a linear line. Some characters will require close proximity to utilize their skill, putting them in potential danger of being overrun by enemies if you're not cautious. You manually control your heroes, but an auto combat feature does exist. I utilized it for most of the game because it handled things pretty well, as opposed to games like Blue Archive, where auto skills are possible, but the AI uses them every time they're out of cooldown rather than conserving them for future use. You also have a limited number of ability usages, denoted by the icons beneath each respective hero's avatar, thus you can't just sit there and spam them all in rapid succession. I enjoyed the combat. When necessary, I would take control of the battle, otherwise I would let the AI play for me, and even with the AI playing, the game looks no less impressive. Which brings me to the aesthetic of Ash Echoes. This is arguably one of the most unique gacha games that I've seen. It isn't a visual masterpiece like Wuthering Waves. It doesn't have the expressive nature of Zenless Zone Zero, the bright vibrancy of Genshin Impact, or the character models of Nikke. But this game is truly gorgeous. The environments look great, the hero abilities look fantastic, and the character models, while seemingly not as good as the aforementioned titles, have this unusual uniqueness to them that enthralled me. I could not take my eyes off of them, some characters more than others. The live 2D models during story elements, the fluid character movements during ultimate abilities, this game absolutely killed it when it came to the visual aesthetic of their characters. After progressing far enough through the story, you unlock the Gacha. I was pleasantly surprised to see that they offer all players a free max rarity 6-star hero for their first 10 pull. The character is completely random, so rerolling is entirely plausible, but it might take you a while to navigate the story each time. Me being me, with my incredible luck when it comes to pulling the highest quality waifus, ended up pulling Hassel. And while definitely effeminate, he comes equipped with a package that I just didn't want to unwrap. Thankfully, the gacha gods shone down upon me and provided me the opportunity for hundreds of additional pulls, allowing me to obtain a significant number of characters, filling every major role that I needed. Unfortunately, even after almost 300 pulls, I only acquired a handful of 6-star heroes. Which does make sense. There are several banner types available, both character and memory traces, which we'll touch on in just a little bit. The probability of obtaining a 6-star hero is 1.2%, with 5-star heroes at 7% and 4-star heroes at 91.8%. Pity honestly isn't bad, and if what I read is accurately translated, after 60 pulls, if you do not obtain a 6-star hero, your chances increase by 6% until you do. Likely hitting full pity around 70-something pulls. Hitting pity resets it to 1.2% with a 50-50 chance of obtaining the banner character. Unfortunately, I hate 50-50 in my gacha games, but I do understand that it does increase revenue, so it is a necessary evil. The gacha is honestly relatively rewarding. Character management is very different to traditional gacha games, where typically every hero has their own individual level that you break through as you continue through the game. In Ash Echoes, well, there are no character levels, not in the traditional sense that I could see. You have an ascension gauge, which increases your character stats by specific percentages. These require resources you grind through the field ops center, consuming stamina to run. Every character possesses their own combat skills that you can upgrade via resources. Upgrading them increases your hero's power, but is gated behind certain level achievements. You use your seed. Yeah, they actually called it seed, and you use your seed to ascend your character like you would in traditional gacha games, and this is where dupes come in. There is a leader record, which allows you to claim some goodies after meeting certain requirements, the archive, where you'll be able to learn more about your hero or replay certain dialogues, and finally fitness training, which I never unlocked, and I'm admittedly a little confused by what that could even be. There are certain game modes present in game, the main story, which features a number of chapters, and chapters having several missions that involve a battle against waves of enemies, field ops, where you'll be grinding for various material types required to ascend your characters. Ascension is limited, and higher ascension levels require rarer materials. The Nexus, that takes us back to the beginning of the game. You have a linear path and the ability to manually control your character. You move forward, engaging engaging enemies as they spawn and slowly pushing through a set number of waves before finalizing in a larger scale boss encounter. Admittedly, I did fail to defeat the boss in my very first attempt, and I haven't reattempted it yet, slowly working my way through everything else because there is a lot to do. And unfortunately, as this is a closed beta test, there really wasn't enough time to do it all. After enough progress has been made, you'll unlock memory traces. These are pulled via gacha, much in the same way heroes are. I'm not entirely certain if there are additional ways of attaining them outside of the gacha, but they function similarly to artifacts in Genshin. They provide you a set number of beneficial bonuses depending on what you have equipped. They also directly affect your engraving stats, which you'll see before every engagement, meaning you'll likely want to plan ahead accordingly. You're capable of leveling them as opposed to your heroes, which confused me as to why there would be a functional leveling system in place for one but not the other. Why not just allow you to ascend your traces using similarly acquired materials, or instead just level your characters? Why make two separate systems altogether? I don't know. The story was surprisingly good. Many of the characters had rather distinct personalities, and I rarely felt bored. This was probably aided by the stellar voice acting. And also the stunning live 2D animations. Although I'm beginning to grow a little weary of the mankind is on the brink of destruction and ruin theme that every gacha game seems to so strongly want to pursue. Outside of story and combat, you have what I believe to be a cafe of sorts that you can relax in. This acts like a dorm, a base, allowing you to customize it however you want. Characters visit the cafe and you can chat with them or engage in a variety of different minigames. There's baseball, which requires you move your reticle or your fingers along the screen following the directions in an effort to hit the ball back towards the back of the cage. Darts, where you'll drag the dart vertically, attempting to pin it on the dartboard. This one was much easier than baseball. And finally, pool, where you'll be able to put your geometry skills to use. Honestly, I'm really good at this. After playing through the minigames, you'll be able to get a drink with your favorite character. You choose the alcohol or tea along with a variety of additives, sugar, fruit. It's a very cool feature that has a direct impact on the outcome of your visit. Ash Echoes exceeded my expectations in terms of enjoyment and quality, and I do think it could genuinely be an incredibly fun game to play on the side. Now let's go ahead here and break down my rating. Combat, 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed having direct control over my characters with a tactical setting and being able to reactively move them during the course of the battle. The class archetypes, the abilities, and utility all felt great. Story, 5 out of 10. I'm growing tired of the theme, but it was told pretty well, featured fun voice acting, and honestly wasn't nearly as filled with fluff as many other releases this year. World, 3 out of 10. There was little to do or explore outside of the Nexus, sadly. Graphics, 7 out of 10. I think the characters are gorgeous in a very unique way, not as flashy or detailed as Wuthering Waves, but that's okay. Sound, 3 out of 10. This is where I felt the game was really lacking. I honestly don't recall a single song or theme that I thought was really good. Overall, I would give this 25 piles of ash out of 50 echoes, or 5 out of 10. Honestly, a fun game, but not fun enough where I'd ever ditch any of my current games for it. Hey you, where do you think you're going? Don't you close out of this tab. I didn't give you permission to do that. Sit your ass back down. Click one of the 2 videos that are gonna be on screen in just a moment and keep watching my content. Keep enjoying my content.